latest success story for you. You know, I absolutely love bringing you these success stories of Beautiful You Coaching Academy graduates and alumni. It's actually really hard for me to put into words how much pride I am filled with, not because of anything that I have done, but just through simple association with knowing these incredible people and knowing that at some point in time, they made a decision on their path to owning a successful business to train with us to become a life coach. Now, we, of course, are just a small part of whatever it is that someone goes on to create for themselves. And I know that all of you know, or maybe this is something you might learn today, that all coaches bring incredible other skills, education, life experiences, and training to building a coaching business. A course like ours is just one part of that, but it certainly can, for many people, be a major part of it. And this community of incredible people that have made the decision to study with us, just honestly, they have my heart in so many different ways. And so if that's you, if you're listening right now as a graduate or a trainee in this course, just know that a little piece of my heart goes with you everywhere. Today's success story, wow, it's with Janelle King. And Janelle is just so wonderful. She trained with us many years ago. Let me tell you about her. Janelle is an organisational psychologist and a life and leadership coach. She's on a mission to help people and organisations reimagine and redesign the way they do life and work by creating entries, environments, and experiences for them to live with more meaning, purpose, and intention. Janelle's company is the Purpose and Work Institute, which is a centre for excellence for meaningful work where she applies industrial-organisational, positive and vocational psychology and coaching to create purpose-driven cultures and meaningful employee experience. She's got a BS in psychology from Howard University, an MA in Industrial-Organisational Psychology from Liberty University, and she's an ICF certified coach and Denison Practitioner. Well, Janelle is here to talk to us about her incredible coaching success story today. And there's a couple of points I want you to watch out for. One is listening to Janelle speak about leaps of faith and her internal faith as well, and the role that that has played in her coaching success. And love for you to also listen in to Janelle sharing with us about how her coaching business really began through the portal and power of content creation, and how she used that to platform her incredible name and work and business into the success that it is today. Janelle King, welcome to Inspired Coach Podcast. I am so excited to have you on today. It has been so long since we last saw each other and connected, and so I am incredibly excited to be in conversation with you today.
Yes, I'm excited too. We're going back in the archives, and I think the last time we probably chatted was on your podcast, Julie, and so that was about probably almost 7 years or so much has changed. So I'm excited.
Yes, much has changed. You have become a mum, you've been married, and your coaching business, which is what we're here to talk about today, and you as a success story, has just gone from strength to strength to strength, which is I'm so thrilled for you about that, Janelle. It's really only what you deserve.
Thank you for that.
You are so welcome. So you know what? Let's dive into those archives. I would love to please ask you to take us back to the time when you found Beautiful You and you thought to yourself, you know what? I'm going to train to be a life coach. I'm going to study this and train. What were you doing in your life at that time?
Yeah, I remember. So when I first learned about coaching, it was shortly after I had graduated from college, and I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I had an idea of what I thought I was going to do. So my background is in psychology, and so I enrolled in a master's program thinking I was going to continue on with psychology, but then realized the more that I got into the coursework that really I didn't see myself being a clinical therapist, and that was like the general route that people were taking in the program. And so I started to think, I'm like, okay, what are my passions? And I remembered that fashion was one of those. And so I enrolled in another master's program in consumer apparel retail studies, and I had the idea that I was going to be consumer behaviorist for fashion beauty brands, and just really working on the diversity in the industry and improving that. But as I got further into my coursework, I realized that although I was passionate and I enjoyed what I was doing, something was off. And so I had started to really start to do a lot of self-reflection and journaling, and just really trying to get better understanding of what my purpose was. And from that, I remember I was sitting on the couch one day and I heard something say, Google the word life coach. And at that point, I had no idea what a life coach was outside of Janelle Van Zant from the Oprah Network. She had a
yes.
show. Yes. Yes. I think it was Fix My Life with Janelle Van Zant. And so I'm like, okay, I think she does coaching, but that's a little intense. So let me just kind of, look into this a little bit more. And when I saw that and read that a coach helps somebody to really just identify their goals and help them to move into that by asking the right questions, it just felt really aligned, because that's always what I did for myself and for others. And as I just did more and more research, I came across the magazine at the time, and I just devoured and downloaded everything that was offered by Beautiful You. And so probably about maybe 3 more months into that journey, I think I came to the conclusion that the route that I was going on wasn't for me. And that led me to quit my master's program a semester shy of finishing. And then a couple months later, I enrolled in the Beautiful You coaching program.
Wow. You know what? We have people come to us through all different stages of life, but that's kind of like on the edge there.
Yes, I was very all or nothing at that point. So I'm like, let's just go ahead and take the leap of faith. And I'm really glad that I did.
Oh, well, we're glad that you did too. And so I can imagine that your period of time studying with us must have come with a lot of mixed feelings then. Like you had just literally stepped away from this hugely significant college undertaking and decided that wasn't for you, and you're moving in a different direction. Was it a bit nerve-wracking at the time for you?
Oh, definitely. I had a lot of anxiety about that, and I was still young, and so I had my friends and family like, okay, are you sure this is what you want to do? But I have always been a very purpose-driven person and a woman of faith, and so I knew that even if I didn't know exactly what all the steps were going to look like, that everything was going to work out. But yeah, definitely was nervous at first.
Yeah, and I think that what you say there, Janelle, is a really important point to make, because the simple fact is that as much as we can want and even try to know and control all of the steps that may need to happen or we desire or want to happen when it comes to building a successful coaching business and being a great coach, there really is no way that we can control that or know all of those things. There is a surrendering, at least in part, that has to exist here, doesn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely struggled with that at the beginning, because I'm very type A. I'm very much so, wanting to know the plans A from Z. And it really was just a free fall and just, stepping out there for sure.
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage and bravery, and that's one of the reasons why I love coaches and business owners, because every single one of them is brave in some way or another, even if they don't recognize it. So Janelle, when you finished your course and you first started to leap out into doing coaching, tell us about the niche that you worked in. What were you focused on at that time, and how were you working with clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So I found myself in the Christian life coaching space for women. And so I was working on purpose discovery with clients at the time. And a lot of them came to me from being in a place in their career where they just felt like they didn't understand what their purpose was. They didn't understand what their strengths and their gifts, or they were at a job where they felt like they were being underutilized and unseen. And so a lot of the work that we did together was helping them to uncover their purpose, leading them similarly through a process that I went through when I was, figuring out my purpose and figuring out what my calling was. And so we did that work, and then from there things kind of expanded over the years. And so now I am still doing purpose discovery, but I actually went back for another master's degree. And I know.
Oh, wow. The eternal
Yes.
student.
Yes, definitely for sure. And so with that, I'm an organizational psychologist, along with still coaching women and other people as well. But really, that's evolved into leadership and career coaching as well. And so, yeah, it has definitely evolved over the years, for sure.
It has evolved, but it's also remained, I think, very contained and very not the same, but you've remained in the same field, of career, life purpose, faith, all of those kinds of things. It's just that you've continued to expand and do this work in so many different ways. Janelle, I want to come back because I'm really interested to ask you, because I think that this is a very common thing in the space of career coaching, and sometimes even just in general life coaching altogether, about the intersection between finding our purpose as a human being, whatever that may look like, and what it is that we do for a job or a business, what we do for a career. I'd love to hear you talk about this a little bit more, because they are obviously interconnected, sometimes in a really deep way and a very direct way. But at the same time, we also have to be really careful, don't we, that we don't assume that our entire purpose for being here on life is what we do for work. Because, of course, we are so much more than that as a human being.
Yes, no, absolutely. I think that a lot of times we hear the word purpose, calling, vocation, and job, and I find that a lot of times that people use those words interchangeably, but like you mentioned, they're definitely different. And I think if we get caught up of thinking that our purpose is our job or our purpose is our role, then if those things shift or change, it's almost like we have an identity crisis to where we don't really know what we're doing or who we are. And so what I found is that our purpose is an integration of, who we're designed to be. So our strengths, our personality, the things that make us uniquely you, or that make us uniquely us, and then our passions, the things that obviously light us up and inspire us, the things that we obsess over. A lot of times our purpose is fueled by those passions, and then our calling can be a way that we channel what our purpose is through a certain task or a series of tasks, because some of us, we're called to multiple things and we're multi-passionate people. So it's not always a linear, path for us, but we find that throughout the different seasons and different roles that we can utilize that calling, and we've been prepared for that throughout our lives and along the way.
I love that. Thank you so much, because I do feel as though we're shifting as a collective more and more into a space where We are unraveling a little bit in the way that we think about work and think about, what it is that we do for a living, and coming to an understanding that it's not everything. Of course, we must work to earn money, to be able to function and survive and thrive. We know these things, but you're right. If we're not careful and we begin to over-identify with our qualifications, with our work that we do, it can cause an identity crisis, because those things don't stay the same our whole lives anymore, do they? It's gone are the days where someone stays in the same job for like 50 years, gets a gold watch and retires. Like, it doesn't really work like that anymore, does it?
Not at all, not at all. And I actually came to a lot of that understanding through my coaching journey as well, because I had tied so much of who I was to the thing that I did at that moment. And then when I became a mother and the pandemic happened and everything, it was a huge identity shift for me. And even more so in 2022, when I had my twins, that definitely had a huge factor into it as well, because I was there at home as the stay-at-home mom, which I didn't plan to be, and mothering three, I think it was like three under two at that time. So,
Ooh, Janelle.
It was a lot. It was a lot during that time. But what I had to learn during that season, that everything is a season. And that's one of the things that I love about coaching too, is that coaching is not just our jobs or our roles. It's a skill that can be adaptive for the different seasons that we're in. And so when we have an understanding of what our identity is, when the seasons shift, we know how we can show up in that identity, show up in our purpose, and be able to tailor that to fit the role and the season that we're in.
I love that so much. Thank you for sharing with us. I'm quite sure that there are people listening right now thinking, oh, that just really landed in my heart, either for themselves or maybe for a client that they're working with. Yeah. So Janelle, when you first started coaching and you're out there, you're doing faith-based life coaching, and then it's eventually morphed into the incredibly successful career and organizational coaching that you're doing now. Tell us a little bit about when you knew things were really going well. Like, what point did you arrive at when you think, hang on a second here, I've got a real genuine, look at that smile on your face, a bona fide business here, and people are coming to me and I'm getting clients and this is really happening. Like, tell us about that time. Like, you obviously remember it, because I can see from your face asking you that question that you do.
Oh man, that's so funny. So, one of the things that I have to coach myself through is imposter syndrome, because I'm like, oh, there's so much more work to be done. But I will say that, so prior to enrolling in Beautiful You, I was already in the blogosphere back then. I think it was like back in 2015, 2016. And so I was already generating an audience just from blogging and content marketing. And so I remember one day I was scheduling some posts and things like that to go up on the website, and I was using Tailwind at the time, which is like a Pinterest marketing tool, and I didn't realize that I had a few posts that went viral on Pinterest. And so from that, a lot of clients were starting to come in just from those the SEO that was built up on Pinterest. And I remember one time I was working and I got an email from one of the Christian authors, and she had invited me to interview for her team, and she was acknowledging my work, and I'm like, how does she even know my name? And so I think that was the moment when I realized, I'm like, okay, Janelle, you're doing some good work. Like, you got something going here. And then it just continued to grow as I continued to show up and write and share in the space.
I think that is so. I'm so glad that I asked you that question because I was aware when you were training with us that you already had an online presence. I knew that you had been, as you said, blogging and writing, and you had a social media presence. And so there was a foundation for you to grow from there. And you know what? We know this in the coaching industry, in all online service industries, really, that when you put out really meaningful, helpful, useful content for your ideal clients and your niche audience, over time, if you are consistent with it and you keep at it, the likelihood of that eventually garnering you some success in relation to clients coming towards you is very likely. We don't so much blog these days, there's a lot more podcasting and things like that. But you serving people in that way and sharing your message through writing was obviously something that you enjoyed as well.
Yes, absolutely. I didn't realize how much I was reaching people through my writing too. And I think that that was something to be said about showing up in ways that feel authentic to you and really using and leveraging your strengths as you build your coaching practice too.
Yeah, wonderful. Janelle, I'd love to invite you to tell us a little bit more because I know that this is something that is really deeply important to you and it is to other coaches I know and who have studied with us as well. I'd love for you to share with us a little bit more about the role that you believe your faith has played in your business success.
I love this question. And I think that, or what I found to be true is that my faith has anchored my growth through the various seasons. Because it's hard. It is hard when you are building from scratch. It's hard when you're putting yourself out there. And the one thing that I had started to feel over time was that, oh, my voice isn't necessary. There's so many people out here that's doing this work. Everybody wants to be a coach now, or everybody is calling themselves a coach now. And so I started to get really disillusioned with just the comparison that I was experiencing at the time. And what I found was that as I was going through that season, and I wanted to actually distance myself from the coaching space at the time. And I found that my faith kept drawing me back to my purpose. It kept drawing me back to my reason why, to the point where I was like, okay, I can't continue to run away from this, And so I think as it was going back to that point that I mentioned earlier, that you don't always know how it's going to work out, and you might go in with a plan and thinking, okay, if I'm going to do all these steps, I'm going to take the course, I'm going to put all these systems in place, and you might have the expectation that everything is just going to grow from there. And it most definitely can, but sometimes, as I mentioned, growth isn't linear. And so for me, when I wasn't seeing the growth that I was expecting, I had to continue to keep on showing up in faith every day and reminding myself that, if I was called to this, if I felt like God called me to this, that He would continue to sustain me, He would continue to provide for me through this journey. And so that's continued to really fuel me along this journey.
Beautiful. I so love that answer. And I know for any faith based coach that is listening to this right now, they're going to draw a lot of, I think, probably both comfort and inspiration if they are significantly still in the early stages of their coaching from your words there. So it's beautiful. So speaking of other coaches, Janelle, now that you have this incredibly successful, thriving, wonderful business, you're a mum to 3 little ones who beautifully went to bed just before we started, before we pressed record here. Good job, Mama. Good job. I'd love to ask you, what would be some of your words of wisdom and guidance for any coach, particularly one that was coming into the purpose or career or faith-based space, with their coaching, what would you impart to them as a now successful coach many years down the track, thriving in your business?
Oh, that's a great question. I think the one thing that I would encourage them to do is to, yes, draw inspiration from other people. I know when you're starting your business, it's easy to download all the resources, follow all the people. But what I found is that it is easy to get swayed in your own vision if you're constantly looking at somebody else's. And so have the one person or the one resource that you go to, and then just really focus on getting clear on what it is that your vision is as a coach, how you want to show up in your own business, and how do you want to serve. And then focus on those people. Don't focus on what you're seeing in social media, what everybody is doing. Just really focus on how you are designed to how you're designed to show up and serve, and then go seek out those people.
Straight for the heart. I love it. Thank you so very much. That's amazing. Janelle, what is next for Janelle King? How do you grow and how do you expand and keep doing your beautiful work in the world? Is there something new on the horizon for you, or is it just more of the wonderful work that you're already doing?
Yeah, definitely still continuing to serve and coach women. I'm also in the process of creating some online courses right now. The one thing that I did find that with this new season of motherhood is that the constraints on my time look differently. And so I've been looking at different ways that I can continue to support, but not always in a one-to-one capacity. And so I'm looking forward to continuing to do that, and also continuing to share my writing as well. And so you can find me at Janelle King to keep up with those different projects.
Beautiful. You know what? I just want to hook in for a moment about this, the writing. When's the book coming?
Look, we're thinking about it. We're thinking about it.
I'm just planting the seed. I'm being cheeky. I know. I'm being cheeky, but I'm like, come on now. There must be a book here, Janelle.
There may be something that we're working on behind the scenes, but we'll see. One thing that I have learned is to really approach this work open-handedly. And so I'm continuing to show up in front of the process and the timing of it all. So yeah.
That was very eloquently put back to me. In other words, to say, Julie, all in good time.
Yes.
You will know when you know. Well, that just means I have to be patient and wait. And so I shall. Janelle, we are so incredibly proud of everything that you have achieved and are achieving in your business, and just thrilled to have you as a part of our alumni. Thank you so much for taking that leap of faith all of those years ago, leaving behind with only 6 months to go. How brave, your masters, and stepping into something like coaching. But it was obviously the right decision, and we have been the benefactors of that decision too.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for creating this space for me to be able to do that. I will say that the coaching program and just the community is just so heart-centered and so genuine. And so thank you, Julie.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. Everyone, we will make sure that you have all of Janelle's details, that you can connect with her. The work that Janelle is doing is truly beautiful in the organizational career life purpose space. But I also believe that if you are a coach of faith, then Janelle is going to be somebody that is particularly inspiring for you to connect with.